So really quickly, like we were talking about, we need to be able to evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. Okay, it's been my experience that sometimes people kind of lump both of those groups together. So, from what scientists believe and what we have our evidence of, we had Neanderthals. Okay, Neanderthals were a group of like humanoid people. So when you think of like a caveman, the big sloping forehead and brow, super muscular, kind of short and squat. Okay, that is more Neanderthal. Okay, so when you think of like the traditional caveman, that's Neanderthal, right? The other group of people that we learned about, let's see if I'll be able to turn this just a little bit, were Homo sapiens. Okay, and so there was a time in history when Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were both on the planet Earth. All right. When we think of Homo sapiens, this is like kind of more humans, right? So this is what we think of when we think of people. Yeah. So does that part make sense? Because right now, and for most of written human history, Neanderthals were not around. Okay. So from the time that we've had writing and civilizations, it's been Homo sapiens, and that's it. Okay. But there was a time when both of these groups were sharing the earth. Now, one of the things, and this is super, super important, if you did not get this into your notes, you need to make sure it's in your notes. And the stuff that I am writing here, you need to put into your notes as well. Okay? And would it be better for me to put it over here or on the front board? It would be easier for people to see. Okay. Maybe that was a bad question because we're like some people are like here and some are there. I'm inclined, like even though this is here, I'm inclined to put it up there, just because I think that like fewer people would have to look through people to see it up there. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the front board, and I'm going to mute this so that way we can see. And again, like I've said before, and I will say again, does Mr. Seymour already know this stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I know it and I'm writing it down, am I writing it down for my benefit and for me? No, it's for you and your benefit. So unless I specifically tell you not to write something down, if you see me writing on the board, what do you need to do? Okay? Okay. So there was one really huge thing that our book said that Homo sapiens were able to do that Neanderthals could not do. And it's a physiological thing. It's the way that their bodies were made up. So what were Homo sapiens able to do or come up with that Neanderthals could not? Yeah. Complex language, creating complex language. So one of the super important things, this is probably one of the most important things in like human history. Okay, Homo sapiens were able to create, bless you. Okay? Now, remember, the whole point of language is to communicate. It's to tell people things. Could Neanderthals communicate?
Yes.
Yeah. Remember it said they can make sounds like what animal?
Frogs.
Like frogs. So, Neanderthals were able to croak, grunt, stuff like that. Point. So, Neanderthals were able to communicate. So, they could communicate. but it wasn't as effective, right? So I've got my awesome Stone Age technology, right? We've got our Stone Age technology here. This is something that definitely would have been available to Neanderthals and to Homo sapiens, right? Remember, they learned how to take rocks, take stones, whittle them down, make other things. Now, I want you to imagine you are a Neanderthal. Were you able to communicate? Yes or no? Yes. Right? So if you're out hunting and you've got your rocks or you've got, your spear, and you see a deer, right? Now, the other people in your hunting party, they can figure out what's going on because they see you pointing and making noises. Now, what if I were like, what does that mean?
Danger.
Maybe. Or maybe the deer was running away, so we had to hurry up. Right? Probably means danger, but it could mean something else. Now compare that to complex language. Deer, over there. You go that way. I'll go that way. We'll meet in the middle.
So they could talk normal?
Yeah. I mean, they probably weren't speaking English, but yes, they had complex language. They could speak, right? Their brains allowed them to put together thoughts and conversations in complex ways, just like ours do. Now, again, it wouldn't have been in English, but yes, they had language and could speak, right?
So how would they kill a deer?
Well, you with rocks, right?
How do they cut?
You find a sharper rock. You find a rock that looks less bludgeony, and you find a rock that looks more.
I'm scared.
You can just make one. Right, do wrong.
Let's see if I have a cutting rock here. Yeah, a rock that looks more cutty, right? So yeah, you don't use your bludgeoning rocks to cut with. You use your cutting rock to cut with. Yes.
What was the first language?
Bless you.
Thank you.
That is an interesting question, and that is a question that honestly kind of depends on like a lot of cultural things, right? Like if you're a religious person and go to church and stuff like that, well, you might say, well, the first language
Oh, I know
was
it. Sanskrit.
Sanskrit. So that is the first written language, right? So that is an appropriate use of your computer, though I do appreciate that. So yes, Sanskrit was the first written language, but spoken language, that's kind of hard to answer, right? Because different belief systems are going to say different things. So that's one of those that you can't really answer. And we don't really know what the first language was, right? But we do know the first commonly used language, the first written language, but the first language we don't really know. Yes, quickly.
Dude, it's kind of impossible to tell the first spoken written language because they would never be able to find real evidence.
Yeah.
But written on walls, written on rocks, stuff like that.
Yeah. And so that's a very good point. And that's what we were saying. Like that's where the difference between belief and fact come in, right? Because there's really no way, there's no evidence for what the first language was. Because first language may have gone and people didn't get it recorded. But I love the way we're thinking about that. All right, so I want to quickly get back to this. So is it a quick question? Because I do want to make sure we have time to do this before we get to our quiz. Yes.
We are having a test today, right?
Yes, we are. Was that your question?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So complex language allows you to do several things. And this is huge. This is so important. Right? So you have complex language like we saw. It allows you to hunt better. You can formulate plans, right? Which allows you to bring down bigger game. Better hunts, bigger game means more food, means you have to spend less time worrying about food, means you have to spend less time focused on food. So now you can focus on other things like making your spear tips better, making bows and arrows, making nets, making fishing poles. Okay? Second thing complex language allows us to do, remember my example of and we didn't know, does that mean, hey, the deer is leaving, let's hurry up? Or, oh my goodness, there's a mountain lion about to eat your kid, right?
Good for you.
So, complex language allows us to stay safer. Because there's a big difference between, which lets everybody know there's danger somewhere over there, and, yo, there's a grizzly bear right there, right? So, it allowed them to stay safer. If people are staying safer, that means they get to live, right? So you have more people. You have all that? Okay. The third huge advantage of a complex language is that it allows you to
Share information.
And technology. Okay?
Do you actually have technology?
Yeah, everything is technology. It doesn't
So,
have to be
that's-
electric.
yes,
there's
and that is-
technology for everything.
Actually what we were just getting ready to talk about. So thank you. So, I was going to say, I'm going to say something that may blow some of your minds. Maybe not, maybe will. At some point in human technology, this was just as big of a technological advancement as this computer.
What?
Right? There was a point in time where humanoids had never thought, wow, I can use a rock as a tool to do things better. Right? There was a point in time where somebody was like, this looks like it could cut something. Let me see if I could use this. And they were able to use it to cut skins or meat or things like that. A lot of times for us, we think of technology as being computers, Wi-Fi, stuff like that, electronics, something that you have to plug in. That's not what technology is. Okay? Technology is any thought, tool, or advancement that allows humans to do things better. So, this rock, this bludgeony rock here, did this allow people to hunt better than just using their bare hands? Yeah. Right? When people figured out, oh, if I take one rock and bang it against another rock, I can make a sharp edge to cut things. Did that help people to do things better? Yeah. So even though for us now this rock is not technology, because we have way better things to do that, right?
Like an axe.
Like an axe or a hammer, yeah. Yeah, remember we learned that they learned how to make fire, right? Banging rocks together to make a spark to bang fire.
Fire is
Yeah.
fire technology?
Fire is technology because it's a tool, right? Remember, technology can be a tool. Okay, so fire was definitely a technology.
So what about the Neanderthals? Like, what did they have?
So remember, I mean, they had communication. We learned that they buried their dead. That's a huge thing because burying your dead shows that you have like some sort of ritual. It shows that you believe that people have like a worth, right? Because they weren't just digging a hole and throwing bodies in the hole so that they wouldn't stink. It said that they used flowers, they had ceremony, they had elaborate things. That shows that they had complex communities, they cared for each other, that they had thoughts that, animals don't have. Yeah.
So technically they were having a funeral?
Yeah, they were having funerals. Yeah.
Did you say they had something more than an animal?
Yeah, they like if a lion dies, the other lions don't get around and mourn, or they don't like have a ceremony.
They eat them.
Yeah. All right.
Like T Rexes.
So remember, they could communicate. Neanderthals were able to use fire. They did refine Stone Age tools. So it's not like they were complete morons.
Oh.
But
They are
this
Neanderthals.
complex language is the thing that really separated Homo sapiens from Neanderthals. That's really huge. Like, this is probably the most important innovation of humankind. Being able to communicate and talk and process thoughts allows for so many other things to happen. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, 5 minutes to finish up your notes. If you didn't get this stuff, remember pages 15 and 16 you're taking notes on. 17, 18, 19 you didn't have to take notes on. The sidebar, the little blue box, you need to finish up those notes. So you have about 15 minutes to finish that. You're going to be studying for your quiz at 10:20. That's when I will open up the quiz. Wait, did I say 10:20?
Yeah.
Sorry. 10:50. At 10:50, that's when I will open up the quiz.
How many questions?